Hey Year 12s. The final type of writing for context that we're looking at is creative writing. If you're at all confused about what the task of context is, stop. Go watch our video on what context is, then come back to this. In this video, I'm going to be explaining what the strengths and weaknesses of creative writing are and some quick tips and tricks to improve your work. Firstly, why would you choose to write a creative piece? Originality. There's a bit of risk and reward consideration with creative writing. If you get it right, you can wow the assessor by doing something they maybe have never seen before. Flexibility. Like a steroid-filled 11-year-old Soviet Olympian gymnast, good creative writing requires flexibility. Creative writing is a great option for those of you who enjoy showing off your creativity, but it does make a couple of aspects of your context writing a little tougher. Here are a few of the downsides. Oversimplifying the prompt. Sometimes when you're focused on creating a cohesive story, the importance of deeply interpreting and discussing the prompt can be neglected. Awkward inclusion of the text. It can be really hard to write a fluid creative piece and include the text in enough detail. Assessors won't be particularly impressed by, out of nowhere, your characters flip on the television and find that your VCE text is playing. Striking a balance is tough. In context, you're expected to balance context, prompt, and text, giving each airtime across your piece. This is harder to do in a non-essay format when you're focusing on writing creatively. It's common for assessors to comment on creative pieces lacking a full exploration of ideas. Don't let this deter you though. I have some tips and tricks to overcome these difficulties. You need to think about all aspects of the prompt and then draw out ways to apply this to a creative piece. Start by asking yourself the same questions you would for any other type of response to a context prompt. What does this prompt mean? What are the consequences of that statement? Is there a way that the prompt could be true or false? Asking yourself all of this will make sure you don't create a story that is too narrow in its interpretation of the prompt. Don't use inappropriate examples. Stories about teenage parties and teenage romances are not really what this task is looking for. Keep in mind that your assessor is older and reads a lot of these pieces, so give them something different and well-researched. Incorporate arguments or morals from the text. It's tough to include these in a creative piece because you have to be subtle for it to work in your piece, but explicit enough that the assessor won't miss it. Practice text inclusion. I suggest trying out a few different ways of working the text into your piece and asking your teacher which works best so you have a style ready for your SACs and the exam. Don't feel limited by personal experience. The story doesn't have to be about you and it doesn't have to be true. Write about what you want. Show off your writing ability. A big incentive to do creative writing is if you're skilled at it, so show that off to the assessor. Make sure you include descriptive language and think carefully about things like dialogue, narration, and so forth. If all of that makes you feel a little nervous, maybe consider blending your creative work with other writing styles. This can include writing a persuasive piece by taking on a different persona or a voice different from your own. From there, you can write something like a speech, an opinion piece, an obituary, or a letter. You can even go more creative if you want. I've seen a student write a transcript of a debate between two people very successfully because it allowed them to explore both sides of the prompt while still being creative. Finally, let me give you a piece of advice about including the text within your creative work. Remember that assessors are looking for an understanding of the ideas and arguments presented in the selected texts. You can choose to approach these criteria either through a subtle or explicit discussion of the stylistic choices, themes, and, most importantly, the text's relation to the ideas of the context. One way of doing this is setting your work inside the world of the text. Another is to work hard at including themes, morals, quotes, or references from the text. Alternatively, using a similar style to your chosen text can convey the depth of your understanding. Things you could consider to achieve this are amount of dialogue and narration, paragraph length, sentence structure, use of long or short sentences, use of symbolism, imagery and metaphor, tone, vocabulary choice. Make sure you understand what all of these things are like within your text so you are able to effectively incorporate them into your own writing. I hope this video has given you the basic overview of creative writing. Make sure to check out our videos on expository and persuasive writing, as well as all the videos on your specific context and texts. Thanks for watching, and happy writing!